Death to the World, issue number 3, 1994, baby. The art is insane on these. Look at that. Baby Jesus and the Theotokos. Meta-punk manifesto. The poorest of the poor, the hardest of the hardcore. Number 1, where we came from. We've been given everything, enough and more than enough of what we need for physical survival and comfort in this world, plus an unlimited supply of dazzling, hypnotic, high-tech entertainments produced by a multi-billion-dollar corporate media industry in which companies vie with each other to suck in their most lucrative target audience, teenagers with a discretionary income, money that they can spend on entertainment rather than survival. That's crazy. That's the first paragraph. And this is 1994. It's currently 2026. It's so relevant. Well, everyone's going after the kids. It's disgusting. We've been given nothing at all. No truth, no meaning for our existence here on this earth, no God. No understanding of what lies beyond this world, so that everything we do in this world seemed only temporary with no ultimate purpose. No parents, or only one parent, or two parents with no answers. No love, because love without God is only carnal, including paternal love. Carnal. Nothing to keep us together when we do think we found love, and in the end, we found that we were all alone. No life, only energy, raw, nervous energy, which is not life. A list of to-dos and to-don'ts, and no ultimate reason for why we should do one and not the other. But more often, no limits. Without God and immorality, everything is permitted. Dostoyevsky. Another Russian guy, sounds like. Where we are currently. Let's see. Crawling out from under the rubble of a hippie movement, which was to change the world into a utopia, but tripped over its tie-dye t-shirt and fell flat on its face. The hippie movement was the counterculture's last gasp to create paradise on earth. When it failed, we saw that there was no hope and thus no use to try. Living in despair, releasing even the pain, because the pain was the only thing we knew was real in a world of fakery. Glorying? Can you put an ing at the end of glory? Glorying in the poverty of ugliness. So glorifying our poverty and ugliness. In a society that worships youth, beauty, and wealth, we hid our youth and disfigured our beauty and lived dirt poor in rebellion against these superficial values of this world. Digging into faith, looking in the gutter for something real, because the skyscrapers and factories and supermarkets and department stores and chain restaurants were temples of death. Perhaps from the garbage, the people who did not fit into society, we would hear a word of truth. The filth scared us. It seared our skin like sulfur, but it never went through to our souls. Trying in our rejection of the world to preserve our innocence and childhood. And this is why the filth never went through our souls. experimenting with insanity, because what our society considers sane is actually insane. So true. Therefore, perhaps insanity could lead us to a glimpse of things as they are. Banding together, deprived of real family, living in a society that worships an individual who worships himself through the icon of the mirror. We formed our own families of misfits banded together against the world, trying to be honest. This above all, trying to be who we are, not what we have been told we're supposed to be. Doing anything not to sell out. But we never could find out who we really are because we had not learned from anyone that could be... Let me start that sentence all over again. But we never could find out who we really were because we had not learned from anyone that we could be anything more than animals with highly developed brains. Because no one around us has risen above that level. We are everything that we once were, but now it's all changed. We still have no hope for the paradise on earth, but we know that this world will end. Paradise is not on this earth, but in the hearts of the people who love God. We still feel pain. Sorry, I forgot to mention. We're on where we are. I was reading where we were. Now I'm on where we are. We feel this pain, we still embrace it and do not turn from it, but now that pain is transformed into something pure and beautiful by the agony of the cross, which conquers death. And the love we feel when we feel another's pain never dies. We still place no value on the superficial values of this world, youth, beauty, and wealth, because all these rot away. But now we don't have to go out of our way to make ourselves ugly. We look the way God made us look and do nothing more about it. We still dig into ourselves to find filth. Now it is in order to eradicate it, to annihilate it, and thus prepare ourselves for the other world. We still strive in our rejection of this world to preserve our innocence and childhood, and now through interior work on our deepest being, we have the means to do so. We still band together against the world. We have a new family composed of those who are misfits in our society and who reject the society's worship of the individual. We are still considered crazy by this world, which cannot understand our sanity. We still strive to be honest, to be ourselves, not what our society, which is going to hell, tells us to be. We refuse to become slaves to history or fashion or public opinion or earthly institutions. We strive be what we were intended to be. But now we know that we are not mere animals, but we have been created for eternity. We see that proof of our immortality when we give and receive love, a love that is no mere human love, but something above nature and otherworldly, and which we know can never pass away with death. In this love is an intense pain of heart, known in silence, which the world can never understand. Now we're on where we're going. Simple. To heaven. But not without sweat and blood, self-sacrifice, self-renunciation, and pain of heart, always remembering that the kingdom of heaven is taken by violence, and the violent take it by force. Nice. Now we're on Pig Farm. Pig Farm. Pig Farm. From the memoirs of Sabina Rumbrand, who suffered under the communist regime in Romania while her husband was enduring a 14-year prison sentence for his belief in God. In 14 years in Romania, communist Romania, for believing in God. The skies were ankle deep in liquid filth, the one substance that never froze. A vile, nauseating stench hung over the place and penetrated every angle of our huts. It hung about the body and hair. The very skilly we slopped up with our wooden spoons savored of it. We were better off than the We were more better off than the prodigal son. We filled our bellies with the husks the swine did eat. Husks the swine. I'm just going to read that again. We were better off than the prodigal son. We filled our bellies with the husks the swine did eat. Got it now. Understood. The meaning fell away from things. Death stared me in the face. The whole world was made of tears and despair as never before, and cry rose from the heart, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And perhaps in a psychological condition such as this, I should not have survived for long. But happily, it did not last for many weeks. I am convinced that the Lord heard my prayers and took me out according to his plan. I had only to learn a very deep lesson, to drink the cup to its bittersweet dregs. And now I am thankful that I passed through this hard school which teaches you the highest love towards God, even when he gives you nothing but suffering. Now we're on common suffering. Readers' contributions. Common suffering. I think these are poems. This is by Tammy and Mari, Kansas City, Missouri. Thanks, Tammy and Mari. God of our fathers, God of all men, God of mercy, come heal our land. God of the sun, God of the moon, God of the rain, come heal our pain. See our afflictions and our torment. Don't give your beloved to wicked men. Turn our mourning into a dance, the cry of mercy in our last chance. God of deliverance, God of our song, rescuing captives waiting so long. Common sufferings linking mankind, those past and present, all of the same mind. Thanks, Tammy and Mari. Now we got Plato Ninda from Chico, California. Plato Ninda. Interesting name. Dry Cry, it's called. My hands feel numb. Why can't I turn out the light? My heart feels cold. Why can't I sleep? I drank enough? Oh God, only now dare I call your name. Dry Cry. My God, I don't believe this lie. I can't live like this. You know I've tried. Dear God, I'm just a kid who's scared and alone. Dear God, let there be love. Please, let love be real. Alright, now this next one is from Senior Matrona from Forestville, California. At the end of the cycle, that's the name. This one short phrase of revolving words and its changes only prove how short and temporal our life here is. We become attracted to the waves in a crashing surf and tide bring us closer to shore. When we feel like we're drowning and helplessly being carried out to sea like driftwood. These will soon be the days of old. There's really nothing here for us but opportunities to press ourselves into the good pages that God will judge us from. End on end cycles. And every beat without purpose or thought makes me feel so alone. And so I get so tired of waiting when the skies won't fall. Our true Father is waiting with his arms wide open to receive his little lost children, whom he will hold next to his heart, and all else will be forgotten. And that was good too. This next one is called Many Times, and it's a little bit longer. This is from Angelina, from Wildwood, California. Angelina. Many times. Many times my adoptive dad, out of anger, completely broke off the screen door. We had to fix it, for we could not buy a new one, for we were very poor. Many times wild animals was mostly what ate during meals in the winter. While getting wood for our wood burning stove that we cooked in, we had to be careful so our fingers won't get splinters. Many times work. That's what life was. That's what life is, and that's what life's for. If there is work to be done, look at it in a positive way. That time will pass much faster, and life won't be so poor. Many times I actually never was like most of the other kids who could march in the town parade. I started to work really hard in the 4th grade. Many times my life was a struggle to overcome my pain of heart. See, people in my school made fun of me because I was the ugliest and not the smartest. Many times I still to this day remember what they said to me. By your actions and words, you can destroy a person or help that person be all they can be. Many times while I was riding in the school van to go home, I would get hit by the males with their fists or with a metal buckle on their seatbelt. It hurt, and it was out of hatred. This I could tell by the delight of their faces, and I know that they didn't care what I felt. Many times I wanted to die. My dog Lady, which was the dog's name, who had just died September 1st, 1993, was 13 years old, for she knew when I was in pain and she heard my every sigh. Many times while writing this poem, I need to let go of the pain, and now I've written enough for tears are starting to come. This was a true life poem that's from the 4th grade until September 1st, 1993, but it's just a small part of sufferings, though. You see, we need them to grow. If you don't want to suffer and endure pain, then growing isn't going to occur. I myself know some people who wanted to suffer so they could grow. There's no way around suffering, for it'll get you no matter what. What happens is what we do with the suffering. For we can either build or destroy lives. I'm not telling you to start troubles, to suffer, but what I am saying is that we all have our share of pain. Life on earth is short, so let's all deal with the pains that have come our way. It starts with each one of us to make it greater or lessen the sufferings of all mankind, even your own pain. From Angela in Wildwood, California. Okay, and then the last one is called Suffering Russia, and that's from Vladimir in Moscow, Russia. Vladimir, very Russian name. Suffering Russia. I grew up in a society where just for mentioning the name of God, you could have been taken to prison, and where tyrants were elevated into idols of universal worship, and people had no freedom to express their belief. More than 1,000 monasteries were in Russia before the revolution, and all of them were destroyed by communists who killed over 60 million people. These returning, talking about the Bolshevik Russia, Soviet Union. Hundreds of thousands were suffering in the concentration camps, trying to kill the faith. Communists closed the majority of the churches, and religion was declared to be an opium of the people. The seeds of nihilism brought forth the fruits of ungodliness and lawlessness. People experiencing living hell every day, and they had no way out. Nevertheless, many people choose the way of the martyrdom because they loved Christ, and their motherland once again was bleeding innocently. There was in Russia a land with deep Orthodox roots. Another side of the same diamond, which is nihilism, the spirit of despair and ungodliness, appeared in America. The prince of this world, Lucifer, chose another way to kill the spirit of the truth. He gave people an external freedom in order to get their souls, and he has almost succeeded. Modern Christianity has lost the idea of suffering, the idea of the cross, and offers people a high-tech and happy life without thinking substitute. Christianity without the cross, and people buy it. The foe of mankind wants to convince us that we can be happy and live as we want, and that the only thing we can wish is that the others would be like us. But this happiness is nothing but having fun, and the goal is to take us away from the true God, from the true path to God. But you cannot be happy if you don't know what suffering is. You cannot love your fellow human beings if you don't carry your cross. Let us take our crosses and with absolute abandonment of the ways of this world, let us follow Christ on his way to heaven. Many difficulties will arise. Many difficulties we will face on this way. But let us not look for the easy ways, because easy ways lead to the death of the soul. And we are called not to kill souls, but to save them. All right. Just a couple more in this one. The curtains. The curtain is rent in twain. The curtain is rent in twain. Look at that, man. Look at those people. It's not my business. The curtain is rent in twain. Do you know what is the meaning of the reading in 2 of the veil of the temple in Jerusalem? Do you know what is the meaning of the rending in 2 of the veil of the temple in Jerusalem at the time of the Savior's death on the cross? I think that this signifies how the human soul is torn as it strives toward God and towards pleasing God. It is rent in two, becoming spiritual but not ceasing to belong to the fleshly man that dwells in it. It is torn, cutting off and tearing away from itself the will of the outward man, which is sweet, but inclined to sin. Its poor heart is torn, tearing itself in half into pieces, some of them as unfit but nonetheless kin to it. It tears and throws into the world, but others it carries like pure incense to its Christ. Oh, how difficult it is sometimes for the poor heart. What is tormented and suffers, literally being torn in half. So it was written by Abbot Damascene of the Valum Monastery. In a dream which Abbess Thaisa had of him after his death. So this was her getting a message from him after his death. Oh, and now we're on this next one. Evdokia, Archives of the Woman Martyrs. Evdokia, the holy martyr of Christ, was a native of Anatolia. She was taken captive by the Persians and brought back to their land. Since she was well versed in the Holy Scriptures, she instructed all of her fellow prisoners, whereupon she became acquainted and friendly with the Persian women, and led many to the knowledge of God. For this reason, she was maligned to the judge, who had her scourged with a bullwhip. Ooh. Afterwards, Evdokia was cast into prison and remained there for 2 months. After another examination, she again confessed Christ as the true God. For this avowal, she was so severely beaten with rods made from the thorny branches of rose bushes that her flesh fell into pieces on the ground. So she was beaten with basically like rose branches with thorns. Ooh. Her tormentors were dyed red by her splattering blood. When they finished, she was thrown once more into jail. With the passage of 6 months, they reproved her at the Third Inquisition and tore at her flesh with reeds equal in length to her body. Then, undressing her, they coiled the canes around her flesh. Thus wrapped, they closely pressed the canes against her by tying them with ropes. As a result, they were fixed into her flesh. Evdokia was then violently dragged about in this reed envelope, being pulled and drawn up. As a consequence, the martyr experienced extreme and sharp pains from the punishments under which she was subjected. Later, they raised the saint aloft and, binding her entire body tightly with ropes, they shattered her bones. When they beheld her half dead and speechless, they cut off her sacred head, and thus our courageous Evdokia departed this life wearing a heavenly crown. Afterwards, at the translation of her holy relics, there sprung forth cures for those that hastened to her in faith. That's crazy. That is crazy.